was 16 years old. I'm at my neighborhood playground, which is Finley Playground, Philadelphia, PA. Any of y'all from uptown, Mount Airy, you know that playground. So I'm at my neighborhood playground, 16. And it's like 5 o'clock, maybe in the evening in the summertime. In the summertime in Philly, or Northeast United States, people ain't even outside yet at the park because, you know, people still coming home from work. Because I used to play, of course, these grown men coming home from work who play ball, like serious ball players, even though they didn't play like anywhere official, but they played ball for real. They getting off, and kids like me, you know, we just start coming to the park because it's hot during the day. So nobody wanted to be outside during the day when it was hot. I would be out there working on my game, then I would go home and come back because I had to get better. But I wanted to come play with the grown men. So I'm out there. There's only a few of us at the park at this point. We didn't even have enough to play a full court game. But it's this dude sitting on the bench next to the court. And he looked at me and he was like, yo, is there more people going to come out here? And he looked like kind of concerned because he didn't want to be out there and nobody was going to come. But when I seen him, I said, yeah, more people going to come. They just, you know, it's kind of early. People get here like within the next like 20, 30 minutes. Now this dude who asked me the question, his name was Jason Lawson. And Jason Lawson had played at Villanova University. This was, what year was this? This is like the summer this happened, like the summer of '98. So Jason Lawson had just got drafted into the NBA. I think it was the Orlando Magic. I wrote this in my post. I wrote a post on this. So if you're watching the video, you read the post and you'll see I had all the details when I researched it. But he had just got drafted by the Orlando Magic in the second round after playing for Villanova. He played in the league for like a year, and he played the rest of his career like outside of the NBA, overseas and stuff like that. But he's like 6'10", so it ain't like he could hide anywhere. So I knew who he was because I had seen him on TV. Villanova had been one of the top teams in the nation during his 4 years in college. So then we finally get 10 and we shoot up our first game. We start running our first game. And Jason Lawson didn't even play in the first game. He sat out because he had a couple people coming. I later found out. So while we playing our game, eventually his friends come. Next dude who came in was a dude named Alvin Williams. Now Alvin Williams he had gotten drafted into the league too, like the same year. I think he got drafted like a couple picks before or after Jason Lawson. He was a point guard. And he was like, Alvin Williams was like 6'5", played point guard with Villanova right next to this dude named Kerry Kittles, who some of y'all might remember. Kerry Kittles was the guard that the New Jersey Nets drafted. I think he was number 8 pick in the '96 draft when the Nets, they was coached by John Calipari at the time, who's now in Kentucky. But the Nets was trying to decide, did we take this dude Kerry Kittles or do we take this other guard, this high schooler out of Philly named Kobe Bryant? So they was deciding between Kerry Kittles and Kobe Bryant. They took Kerry Kittles. Kobe Bryant ended up going. He got drafted by Charlotte, then got traded to the Lakers, and the rest is history. But Alvin Williams was Kerry Kittles and Jason Lawson's teammate. So he got drafted by, I believe he was on the Portland Trailblazers when he first came in the league. He ended up with the Toronto Raptors shortly after that. And he was on the Raptors for a solid period of time. Like that whole Vinsanity period when Vince Carter was killing, Alvin Williams was a solid rotation player on that team. I think he might have started a little bit, but he was always in a rotation. Whether he was starting or coming off the bench, he always played. So he had a solid career in the league. I think he played like 10 years in the league. Then he became an assistant coach, and I looked him up. And also in the article, I'm saying this on video, so I don't have the information in front of me, but in the article I wrote about, because I looked up what he was doing now. And I think he was either coaching or like broadcasting or something like that in basketball. Alvin Williams was doing. So he's the one who came in next, and he had somebody else with him. The dude he had with him was a dude named Cuttino Mobley. Now, most of y'all know Cuttino Mobley, even if you don't know Jason Lawson or Alvin Williams. Cuttino got drafted the next year. So I think he had just gotten drafted. So Alvin Williams and Jason Lawson, I think, had just played their first year in the league. And Cuttino had just got drafted that summer. So he was about to play his first year in the league. And he got drafted, of course, by the Houston Rockets. So he went to the Houston Rockets. He had came out of, where he go? He went to Rhode Island. Him and this dude named Tyson Wheeler was like a dynamic backcourt at University of Rhode Island. And Cuttino, I don't even remember where he got drafted, but I think he got drafted higher than those dudes. But he was also a second rounder. But he ends up going to Houston, and he had a really solid rookie year. Then he teamed up with one of my favorite players of all time the next summer, this dude named Steve Francis. And they was like, you know, they was basically like the Splash Brothers in reverse. Y'all know how, well, those of you who watch now, you know, the Splash Brothers is Steph Curry and Clay, and what they do, they shoot threes. Well, the Houston Rockets back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had two dynamic guards in the backcourt averaging 20, just like Steph and Clay. and Cuttino and Steve Francis, but instead of shooting threes, these dudes would just isolate. That's all they would do, is just isolate. They would put 4 dudes on one side of the court, and then either Steve or Cuttino would get on the other side, isolate one-on-one, and just break down whoever was guarding them and scoring them. That's what they did like all game. And teams, some players didn't like that. Not players on their team, but players on other teams and just fans of the game. It's like, yo, all this is isolation. It's like playground basketball. And that's kind of how Steve Francis played, Cuttino as well. But anyway, Cuttino Mobley, Alvin Williams come into the park. Jason Lawson's already in the park. So these dudes team up and they just start running the court. And by this point, by the time they get to the court, and mind you, it's 1998. Nobody has smartphones. There's no social media. So none of this is on video. Nobody was recording nothing. We was just playing. The whole neighborhood was out there at the park, lining around the court watching the games. And so just to show you, now that I think back on it, like word traveled back then, even when we didn't have devices. Because now we think of, right? Sometimes I think to myself, like, damn, if I don't have my phone, what if I go somewhere and I ain't got my phone with me? How am I gonna let people know where I'm at? How am I gonna tell them what's going on? How am I gonna find somebody in a venue? You don't think it's even possible to do that without a phone. But back then, before we had smartphones, word got around one way or another, even when we didn't have the devices. I guess that's just a hat tip to human ingenuity. We figure out a way to get it done based on what tools we have. But anyway, this is my first time playing basketball, period, with dudes who were professionals. And I ended up, a couple games go by, I end up on a team with Cuttino. Me and Cuttino was on the same team, and Alvin Williams, Jason Lawson was on the other team. But before I even get to that, it was just watching these dudes play was like amazing because they made it look so easy. Of course, Jason Lawson was so tall, but the 2 guards, Cuttino and Alvin, they's both about 6'5". They made the other dudes in my neighborhood who seemed like dudes we call big men, but they wasn't even that tall. They was like 6'4", 6'5", but they played like center in the pickup games. They was dunking on these dudes, jumping over them, grabbing boards on, making them look small, and they was like the big men in our neighborhood. So that was just funny. The way that they just broke dudes down off the dribble, was hitting shots from wherever, just scoring on people. They were so like big, strong, and fluid. They just made the game look so easy and made the court look so small. And it was the first time I'd ever seen, again, professionals and just how they made the game look. It looked like they was playing a completely different game than everybody else, even though we was all playing basketball. So anyway, last game that I played, I'm on the team with Cuttino, and of course he's killing. He dunked on this dude who was like known for blocking everybody's shot on a normal day. Cuttino just banged on this dude. He was left-handed, so Cuttino dunked this dude with his left hand, and like it was nothing. It didn't even look like he had to try hard to do it. But we get down to game point. Both teams is at game point. Next bucket wins the game. Cuttino drives to the hole. Of course, he draws a whole bunch of traffic. He passes the ball out to me. I'm standing off in the corner. And this is all I did a lot at that point, at that age. All I did was stand in the corners, and if I got a pass, I'll just shoot a 3. That's all I did. I didn't really dribble. I didn't really make plays. My game didn't really start to expand until maybe like later that year and into the next summer. He hits me with this pass in the corner. Of course, I rise up to go shoot, but Alvin Williams was on defense, so he ran over there to help or to challenge my shot. And I knew he was going to jump high. He's 6'5", so I knew I had to get some air under it. So I tried to get that jump with a lot of air under it. Alvin Williams jumped to try to block it. He like reached as hard as he could. He got a small piece of it. And those of you who play ball, you know, if you get a small piece of a shot, that's enough to keep it from even getting to the rim. So he gets a small piece of the shot. The ball, he ain't like swatted out of bounds, but the ball doesn't go all the way to the basket. It goes up in the air. He like lands, runs over, catches the ball out the air, and then he takes it down the other end. They end up scoring the game, win the bucket. They beat us, put us off the court. So the last memory I had was them beating us, putting us off the court off my shot getting blocked. And Cuttino, he was mad as shit because I got the shot blocked. He wanted to take the last shot. He was mad that I shot it and got blocked. So the last thing I remember of him was him walking out of the park because they left a few minutes after that. He left. And he just glared. He looked over his shoulders, just looked at me, and just gave me this dirty look, and just shook his head and just walked out. But I was only 16 at the time, so I mean that's all I knew. But anyway, that's the story of the first time that I shared the court with professional basketball players anywhere at any level. Now, all of this is a story that's going around. The content is in my new book, which is called "Work on Your Game: Use the Pro Athlete Mindset to Dominate in Business, Sports, and Life." That book is coming out February 22nd. If you want to know more about the book, you need to go to my website. My website is dreallday.com. That's where all the information, all my activities at. Those of y'all who see me on YouTube back in the day, no, I don't even do YouTube like that. I'm just doing these on video or wherever you see this video. My website, dreallday.com. That's the hub of all activity, of anything that I'm doing, whatever I got going on. That's where you're going to find it if you don't see much going on here. But anyway, that's what it is. Down there is the link to the book, description of the book, all the pre-order bonuses you get for ordering the book. Get it now. I'll tell you the next story soon. Work on your game.